Hi, I'm Bridget. Welcome to my kitchen. If you want to build up your repertoire of vegetarian dishes and you want options that don't include pasta, then join me while I share my recipe for braised lentils. And don't tune out just because I mentioned lentils. This versatile dish is full of surprises. Once you get to know this recipe, you'll appreciate its versatility. I think the key to enjoying lentils is all about texture balance. You want a good contrast with the texture of the lentils. Today we'll stay vegetarian and serve the lentils with sautéed carrots, crispy onions, and a few slices of goat's cheese. We're going to start with the crispy onions because I want to get them in the oven before we start to cook the lentils, and that will give them lots of time to get good and crispy. We'll use 2 onions. And that will give us enough as a topping for 4 servings, which is about the serving size of the lentil dish. I'll slice them fairly thin, and that way they'll be sure to cook up with a great crunchy texture. I cook crispy onions often because they go with just about everything. And you can leave them in the fridge for the better part of a week. If you want to make a big batch, sometimes I'll cook 4 or even 6 onions. I've got a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. So we'll just spread the sliced onions onto the cookie sheet. And I'm going to toss them with a couple of tablespoons, or a little less, I guess, of olive oil and a good pinch of salt and some freshly ground black pepper. And then I'm going to massage them a bit to make sure that everything is well coated. I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. And while we're cooking the lentils and the carrots, I will check on these from time to time to toss them around a little bit, especially because the onions on the edges are going to crisp up a lot faster than those in the middle. So we'll get these in the oven. Our first step with the lentils is to cover them with boiling water and let them soak for 10 to 15 minutes. And we're starting with 1 cup of green lentils, or you can use French lentils, Dupuis lentils. While our lentils are soaking, I'm going to dice an onion and 1 stalk of celery, or actually today I'm using 2 stalks because the stalks are very little. And we'll get those sautéing with a little bit of garlic. We'll cook the onions and celery together until they're soft, and then we'll start to add the other ingredients. I've warmed the pot over medium, and I'm just going to add a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. And to that, I will add our diced onion and celery. We'll wait until these start to soften before we add the garlic. Now that the onions and celery have softened, I'm going to add a bay leaf and 2 minced cloves of garlic. I'll just stir those around a little bit. And then I'm adding a teaspoon of an Italian herb blend, or you can just use oregano. And I'm adding just a few flakes of red pepper, so hot red pepper flakes. And I have sliced 1 smallish zucchini. So this zucchini is going to kind of disappear into the lentils, and it will help mix up the texture of the dish a little bit. So we'll saute this until the zucchini is soft, and then we'll add our final ingredients, let things start to simmer, and then we can get going on the carrots. I'm going to chop 6 carrots, or I guess slice them into kind of a rough julienne. And the carrots will just saute in the pan beside the lentils. Another option with the carrots is to slice them into medallions on a diagonal and toss them with olive oil, salt and pepper, and roast them in the oven while the lentils are cooking. While I'm cutting the carrots, I'm still going to keep stepping back to stir the zucchini, just to make sure it doesn't burn. And actually, I'm just going to cover it and let it steam a little bit as well. I love serving carrots with green lentils because they give a nice color contrast as well as a texture contrast. We're ready to drain our lentils. And you'll see it's 1 cup of lentils, but they expand a lot just through the soaking process. Now that the zucchini is soft, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of red wine. And I'll wait till that mostly evaporates before I add the remaining ingredients. Next, I'm going to add a tablespoon of tomato paste. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then a few grinds of black pepper. And 1.5 cups of stock. Now I've got 2 cups of stock here, and this is vegetable stock. And I'm just saving the last 1/2 cup to add at the end if the lentils seem a little bit dry. And finally, let's add our soaked lentils. We'll bring it to a simmer, and then I'll turn the heat down a little bit, cover them, and let them cook. I will stir them gently a few times through the cooking process, but for the most part, we're just going to let them sit and simmer away. They've started to bubble, So I'll cover them and then turn the heat down. Now we're ready to start sauteing our carrots. So I've warmed the pan over medium, adding about a tablespoon of olive oil and about a tablespoon of butter. Once the butter melts, then I'll add the carrots. Into the pot go our carrots. This is a good time to check the onions, and they are browning up beautifully. I'm just going to toss them around a little bit, just so they'll cook evenly. I think once you've tasted these crispy onions, you will agree that they are a delicious addition to all sorts of meals. And back into the oven they go. I'm just going to check on our lentils. They smell delicious and they are simmering gently. So I just like to toss them around a little bit. I'm going to dress up these carrots a little bit with some cumin. This is half a teaspoon to start. I'm going to give them a pinch of salt. And I'll add a little bit of black pepper. Then I'm going to add a tablespoon of molasses. This will give them a nice glaze and they won't quite get sticky. It will give them just a beautiful added flavor. So when you think the molasses with the cumin go really nicely together. The carrots are almost cooked, so I'm just going to taste to see what extra seasoning they need. The carrots need a bit more salt. And I'm also going to add a bit more cumin because it's not showing up very much. So I added another half teaspoon. I'm going to put the heat on low and we'll just keep those warm while we finish up our lentils. The broth is mostly evaporated. I just want to taste to see if they're tender enough. And they are. So I'm just going to adjust the seasoning. They could use a bit more salt also. And one of my favorite flavor enhancers is Worcestershire sauce, so adding just a bit of that. And I am going to add some of our reserved vegetable stock because when I serve these lentils, I want them to still have a little broth to them. I'm using a rubber spatula because I don't want the lentils to get mushy. I don't want to be crushing them with a wooden spoon. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon of butter just to give them an added richness. And I'll taste them one more time. For my final seasoning, I'm going to sprinkle in a few more of the Italian herbs, or this herb blend, another half a teaspoon. So that means we've used 1.5 teaspoons in total of these dried herbs. I love doing these final flavor adjustments at the end. just taking the dish in different directions depending on what my palate is looking for. Sometimes I will add just a little bit of molasses to these lentils. Sometimes I will add, instead of the Worcestershire sauce, sometimes I'll add a little bit of anchovy paste. There, now I'm getting the herb flavor. To assemble our braised lentils, we'll start with a scoop of lentils. And I'm going to tuck a couple of slices of goat's cheese alongside. And this goat's cheese will start to melt in the heat of the lentils. And then you can blend it in and it tastes delicious. And alongside the lentils, I'm going to add some of our glazed carrots. And then on top are the crispy onions. These lentils are delicious with goat cheese alongside, but if you prefer, you could add a poached egg. For a non-vegetarian option, you could top the lentils with roasted salmon or roasted cod, or you could serve a sausage alongside. I know lentils may seem boring, but when you cook them in a flavorful way and add a great variety of textures alongside, I think you'll appreciate the versatility of this braised lentil dish. Thanks for watching.